On September 11th, 2001, 4 planes were hijacked and hit 3 different locations: the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and a field in rural Pennsylvania that didn't reach its intended target. This day would change America's foreign policy in the Middle East forever. By the end of the video, you will know why it wasn't for the better. Over the 12 years between the 2 wars in Iraq, many attempts at diplomacy have been made by the United States and the United Nations to disarm and contain the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein, but many of them have failed. Due to Saddam's support for terrorist groups such as Al-Qaeda, the threat of Hussein arming these groups with weapons of mass destruction were very real. Even though none were found at the end of the war was still at least justified in an ethical way. Only a few short weeks after the first American steps in Iraq, on April 3rd to April 12th, 2003, was the invasion of Baghdad. Since it was only a few weeks for American troops to reach the Iraqi capital of Baghdad, this war could be considered the most quick war we have participated in, thanks to the strategy of shock and awe, which is bombing excessively. As we charged into Baghdad, some of the civilians were even celebrating the liberation of their country by foreign invaders. As seen in this video, the citizens could be heard screaming and cheering as a statue of their oppressive dictator is toppled over by an American armored vehicle. As the coalition forces of the United States and the United Kingdom rushed into Saddam's palace in Baghdad to find that he was gone, we went searching for him. It took a total of 8 months of searching before a group of soldiers caught Saddam Hussein hiding in a spider hole in Ad-Dar, a small farm town in Iraq. Here is a reenactment of that capture.
Where is Saddam?
I don't know where Saddam is. We have to find him.
We've been on a hunt for him for a lot of time now. We must find Saddam.
I know. He's been gone for a while.
I think we found him!
Saddam!
Saddam! Come out now!
Come out now!
Surrender!
Surrender!
Saddam, surrender! Surrender now, Saddam! Hands behind your back! On the ground! On the ground! We have finally caught him! Yes!
Saddam Hussein was held in captivity by the new democratic government of Iraq installed by the United States until his execution on December 30th, 2006. His death was celebrated not only in Iraq, but America as well. With Saddam dead and a new democratic government in power, this sounded like the end of the problems in Iraq. Wrong. There has been countless protests by the Sunni community throughout the nation. There has also been fighting between the Iraqi military and people in the Anbar province, who disagree with the government who have sovereignty in that area. Also not to mention the rise of the Islamic State, who has been terrorizing not only Iraq, but Syria and the rest of the world ever since its rise. Bush had a plan to keep American soldiers in Iraq because he did not feel that Iraq could handle itself yet. We were assisting the government of Iraq not only politically to help the nation support itself, but we were also protecting the nation militarily, not only from itself but others. Because no one in the Middle East wants to met with a country with support from the greatest military in the world. Even though we were supporting the nation through political and military support, the nation was still not stable. And an example of this is when George Bush had a shoe flung at him by an Iraqi at a press conference in Iraq. Man, these relations with Iraq are going pretty good. Oh crap, a shoe's being thrown at me!
A few hours ago, I spoke with Iraqi Prime Minister Maliki. I reaffirmed that the United States keeps its commitments. He spoke of the determination of the Iraqi people to forge their own future. We are in full agreement about how to move forward. So, today, I can report that, as promised, the rest of our troops in Iraq will come home by the end of the year. After nearly 9 years, America's war in Iraq will be over. This will be a strong and enduring partnership with our diplomats and civilian.
Then Obama came. Obama thought that Iraq could handle itself without our help. He thought it could not only politically support itself, but militarily support itself. This is disproven by this map of the Islamic State's territory in 2015. The reason that the Islamic State rose so much in these few years was because since we withdrew our troops from 2011, ISIS saw this as an opportunity for a land grab. But since we withdrew, there have been a multitude of troops, of American troops at that, in Iraq. So I don't think Obama has handled the situation in Iraq very well. Here's a dramatization of the conversation that I feel Obama would have made.
After all, there will be some difficult.
So, President Barack, what's the plan?
Well, I'm planning on withdrawing all of our troops out of Iraq.
Ain't that a problem?
Possibly. It could possibly create a power vacuum for the rise of a terrorist organization that can attack the world with its networks of terrorists. But I think the Iraqis can handle themselves. As of right now, the Iraqi military are in the second phase of the battle for Mosul and are nearing the Tigris River to take the city back from ISIS' hands. Ever since the rise of the Islamic State in 2013, Iraqi and Syrian forces are retaking large chunks of land that were taken before by the Islamic State. Why, you ask? Because the Iraqi army was not able to defend itself. But since we have been sending troops back, we have been assisting the Iraqi army through airstrikes and military support. Here's a dramatization of a meeting that could have went on between two ISIS militants.
Ahmed, come over here. Now, these are the battle plans for the bombings, the beheadings, and the killings. We'll behead some people right here, bomb some places right here in Saudi Arabia, and kill some people right here in London. Death to America!
Yes, sir. Death to America.
Death to America!
Nah, yo, get down on the table now, boy. Get down on the table now, boy. You know, oh, dear, yo, run them drawings.
Ah, death!
Now that we have a new president in office, Donald J. Trump, we will have a new era of foreign policy on terrorism in the Middle East. On January 30th, 2017, President Trump signed an executive order stopping the flow of immigration from 7 countries: Iraq, Syria, Iran, Yemen, Sudan, Somalia, and Libya for 90 days, all of which have ties to Islamic violence and terrorism. People have said that Trump is an Islamophobe for banning Muslims from these countries, when in reality, he banned everyone from these countries from coming over to America. If he was an Islamophobe, he would have also banned immigrants from Indonesia, the country with the highest count of Muslims in the whole entire world. Since we have not had very good policy in the Middle East for 8 years, this move by President Trump will be the first of many decisions made to bring peace to not only to America, but the Middle East as well. I hope you enjoyed my documentary on the terrorism in Iraq and the United States' stance and presence and influence in Iraq against terrorism. Thank you very much.